What if I told you that pretty much everything you've ever been taught about money is wrong? Seriously, today we're diving into a book that makes that exact argument, that the classic advice we get from our parents and teachers isn't just a little outdated, it's actually a financial trap. So let's get into the core ideas of Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
You know the script, right? We've all heard it. It's the formula for success that's been drilled into us our entire lives. It sounds so sensible, so safe. But what if following this exact advice is the very thing that keeps so many people stuck, feeling like they're just running in place?
Robert Kiyosaki, the author, gives this a name. He calls it the Poor Dad script. And his big argument is that this well-meaning advice is an old, broken blueprint that actually locks people into a lifetime of financial struggle. It's a trap, and it's disguised as security.
So, how does he make his case? Well, the whole book is built around the story of his two fathers. It's a brilliant setup. These two men gave him completely opposite advice about money, which basically laid out two totally different paths, two different destinies.
I mean, just look at this contrast. It's at the absolute heart of the book. His poor dad, that was his actual father, was this highly educated guy, had a PhD, but he struggled with money his whole life. Then you have his rich dad, his best friend's father, who dropped out after the 8th grade, but went on to become one of the wealthiest men in Hawaii. And their philosophies? Night and day. One said the love of money is evil. The other said, no, the lack of money is the real root of all evil.
So what's this trap that the Poor Dad script leads to? Kiyosaki calls it the rat race. And if you've ever felt like you're on a hamster wheel, working harder but not getting anywhere, well, you know the feeling. It's this endless cycle, and it's powered by two of the most powerful emotions we have, fear and greed. And this just lays it out perfectly. It starts with fear, the fear of not being able to pay your bills. That's what gets you up in the morning to go to work. Then you get the paycheck, and greed or, just desire kicks in. You see all the cool stuff you can buy, so you spend it. And then almost instantly that fear of next month's bills comes creeping back in, and the whole cycle starts over. Now you might be thinking, well, I'll just get a raise. But here's the kicker. More money doesn't actually solve the problem. In fact, for most people, a bigger paycheck just leads to a bigger, fancier trap. They upgrade their lifestyle, right? Bigger house, nicer car, and their expenses just balloon to match their new income. A job is really just a short-term solution, a band-aid on a much bigger, long-term problem.
So if a job isn't the answer, what is? Well, this brings us to what is, without a doubt, the single most important lesson in the entire book. Getting out of the rat race boils down to understanding one thing: the true difference between an asset and a liability. And I'm willing to bet the definition you were taught is totally wrong.
Let me ask you this, point blank. It's a question that really shakes people up. Is your house, the one you live in, an asset? Now, conventional wisdom, your accountant, your real estate agent, they all shout yes. But Rich Dad, well, he had a very, very different answer. According to the standard way of thinking, yeah, all those things on the left are considered assets. But Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, he had one word for that way of thinking: garbage. He believed that this fundamental misunderstanding is the #1 reason the middle class gets stuck. His definition was so simple, it's almost genius. An asset is anything that puts money in your pocket. That's it, full stop. It's all about cash flow. Does it generate income for you month after month, whether you get out of bed or not? If yes, it's an asset. And on the flip side, a liability is anything that takes money out of your pocket. So let's go back to your house. With the mortgage, the property taxes, the insurance, the constant repairs, it takes money out of your pocket every single month. By this simple, powerful definition, it's a liability. This slide just nails it. It shows you the cash flow pattern for each group. The poor, income comes in and it goes right back out to expenses. The middle class, their income goes to buying liabilities that they think are assets, which then create more expenses. But the rich, they do it completely differently. They use their money to buy assets first, and then those assets generate their income. They build the money-making machine before they buy all the fancy toys.
Okay, so you can see this isn't just about one little rule. It's a total paradigm shift. The wealthy don't just have more money, they have a completely different mindset about how money, work, and risk all fit together. They're literally playing a different game, by a different set of rules.
So what does this mindset actually look like? Well, it really boils down to a few core principles. The first one is to mind your own business, and we'll unpack what he really means by that. Second, you have to understand the power of legal tools, like corporations. And third, you have to start seeing your job not just as a way to earn money, but as a place to learn skills.
So when he says mind your own business, what's he talking about? He means you have to understand that your profession, your 9-to-5 job, is not your business. Your business is your asset column. The goal is to keep your day job to pay the bills while you build your actual business on the side, buying and creating assets that will one day work for you around the clock. Okay, part of playing this different game is knowing the rules better than everybody else. And one of the biggest rule books that the rich have mastered is the tax code. And this isn't about anything illegal. It's about understanding how the system is set up, starting with how a normal employee pays taxes.
For most of us, the sequence is simple and kind of brutal. First, you earn money. Then the government immediately takes its slice through taxes, and only then do you get to spend what's left over.
But the wealthy often use a different tool, a legal structure called a corporation. Now, a corporation isn't some giant skyscraper, it's really just a legal file folder with some papers in it. But this simple file folder flips the entire tax equation on its head.
Check this out. A corporation also earns money, but then it gets to spend money on all of its legitimate business expenses. We're talking cars, travel, equipment, salaries, and then only after all that spending does it pay taxes on whatever's left. By spending first, they legally and dramatically reduce their taxable income in a way an employee just can't.
So as we start to wrap this all up, it's so important to get this. Rich Dad, Poor Dad is not a step-by-step instruction manual. It's not going to tell you exactly which stock to buy or what piece of real estate to invest in. Its real power, its real value, is that it's designed to completely rewire how you think about money.
See, the poor dad mindset often gets trapped by one simple, destructive phrase: I can't afford it. The moment you say that, it's like a switch flips off in your brain. It's the end of the line. The conversation's over. You've admitted defeat. But the rich dad mindset takes that dead end and turns it into a question. Instead of I can't, it asks, how can I afford it? And that simple change forces your brain to open up, to get creative, to start solving problems. It turns a closed door into a challenge. And that mental shift from I can't to how can I, that's the whole game.